Hello, good morning. Welcome to the Tell It Like It Is podcast. I'm your host, Alexi Bailey, and today I have a very special guest, Courtney Hancock.
Hello, how are y'all doing? I'm hoping that you guys are doing great, and I'm excited to be doing this today.
Yes. So, Courtney, I saw your podcast online, Young Everyday Black Woman,
Mhm.
and I really connected with your authenticness and just your vulnerability. Can you tell us a little bit about the show?
Yes, Young Everyday Black Woman, the podcast. It's all about encouraging Black women and sharing my stories that I go through as a young everyday Black woman and hoping that it resonates with everyone that's listening. I feel like even men get something out of this podcast, and that's something that I love, because they get to hear some of the things like, oh, this is what they're really thinking as women. And that's what I love. And just being able to connect with people, I say even all over the world, who are just going through the same things I'm going through. So, yes, that's a little bit about Young Everyday Black Woman, the podcast.
And you're currently in college, right?
Yes.
What year are you?
This is my senior year. Well, really, I'm beyond a senior at this point. I was supposed to graduate, but they messed my schedule up, but it's all good.
And what school are you?
Elizabeth City State University.
Nice. What was your original intent when you registered?
Um, I don't know. Well, I wanted to graduate in May this year, but that did happen. But things changed. I came in as a communications major. They switched our major to digital media,
Okay.
which it's a little different. But some of the things that I've been able to do at the school's radio and television stations, that has been able to kind of bridge the gap with the switch, because digital media is more, like behind the scenes type of stuff, and it's just been crazy. I'll say that it's been crazy.
Well, one of the things that I want to do with the podcast is make relationships.
Hmm.
And, I want to have conversations. I want to bring conversations that are happening in person. And I want to bring it to the digital space
Yeah.
because we can reach more people that way.
Yes.
And, if more people hear about it, then more people can interact, connect to it, and form partnerships.
Hmm.
So, what are some of the conversations that you're having on campus right now?
Ooh, it's a lot. We are definitely, I'll say, between me and my female friends, and well, I say all friends. We've been talking about relationships, and at the age of when are people ready to dig into these true romantic relationships, and we've been talking about. It's just all been surrounded around men and women and why we are the way we are, why we be acting, how we be acting, and things of that nature. And the conversations are deep. It's so much that we talk about. We don't, sometimes get to realize how our insecurities reflect onto what we project onto the world, and also kind of the men that we attract in a sense. So these conversations, they go and they go and they go, and they're great to have. They're awesome to have.
Um, so, is this school a predominantly Black school?
Yes.
Um, so, I'm assuming it's like what's the socioeconomics of these people of color?
Well, I'll say it's a lot of people who are from the area, so they view things a little differently. It's a small town, so it's kind of, this is their home. They've grown up this being their home, and but I will say it's all different types of Black people in a sense. You have people who are from the country. You have people who have come from bigger cities, and you
And
have
this is the
people.
Baltimore area, right?
Yeah, this school's in Elizabeth City, North Carolina.
Okay.
So it's different. It's a different vibe. I say for me, especially being from Baltimore, it's different. But you meet so many different types of people who come from so many different types of backgrounds. People who have struggled, are still struggling while in school. You have people who have it. They really got it. It's a definitely a mixture here, which creates different conversations in general, I'd say.
Um, is there an issue right now with paying for college, taking loans, and these things?
I feel like for me personally, like the loans is the thing. That's definitely the biggest thing. But I was having a conversation with someone before who's like a financial advisor, and he was just like, "Well, you're if this is what you want to do, then you're gonna have to do it." So instead of complaining about it, it's just coming to the point that it is what it is. But I do feel as though early in people's college careers, they definitely need to start looking into programs and scholarships and things of this nature. Because I think sometimes, like after we get in school, we kind of like take a pause and we forget that, yeah, we could still get scholarships. And it's always a time. And then you can't be afraid to ask for help. I feel as though financial aid offices, although on HBCU campuses, they are crazy. But they're there to help. They do have a reason to be there, and you never know what funds are just sitting there and they're waiting to give to somebody. So
When you
yeah.
said crazy, what do you mean?
Um, it's like financial aid offices pre-pandemic and all, they're always so hard to get in contact with the people as if this is not what they do. It's like they're never in their office or something. It's always something. And I feel like that's one thing, like all HBCU students, we all have this conversation about, is that the financial aid offices are crazy. It's always something, or they don't get your paperwork right, or you are missing something and they're telling you last minute. It'd be a lot.
How much does your school cost, cash?
It's really not that expensive. The actual tuition is just 2,500. It's like a North Carolina Promise Plan, and then in-state students are only paying $500 for their tuition. But
Per
that doesn't
semester?
then include, but that doesn't then include the other things. But some of the scholarships that they give us, and then a lot of people who are in-state have more scholarships. I feel as though than like me being out of state, but the tuition is pretty good.
Okay. And then you have to pay to be in the dorm.
Hmm.
Yeah. The reason why I ask about that is because, tuition, student loans is a very big issue right now.
It
And it continues to be like a hot button issue. And, you're doing the right thing, obviously. You're getting an education, you're doing a young black woman trying to make it in this world. And now you have the additional hurdle of having to worry about paying for it. And
right.
it costs 5 times as much for you coming from out of state.
Hmm. Yes, that is always the thing, and it's a lot. It's a lot of pressure. I feel as though you're like, I'm in college, I'm trying to do the right thing, but then you're thinking about, well, I'll say I'm the type of person who's thinking about next year, like, wow, this time next year I'm going to be just trying to pay these student loans off. But again, it's just more so like, this is just what I have to do, but it always is something in the back of your mind, like, am I doing the right thing?
What
So
what
it's
what's the
crazy.
average amount people are walking away with, or what's a normal amount at
Hmm.
graduation?
For debt,
Yeah,
or
that.
I really haven't. I'll say in my school, I really haven't heard a lot. I will say I hear a lot of people here who are walking away, no student loans. Like, it's a lot of people here at this school who I will say that are not walking away with a lot of debt. I feel like out of everybody I know, I'm probably the one with the most.
Okay.
And then the extra time that they try to put on you, I also feel is not okay when it's not like, oh, I failed a class and I had to stay here longer. It's things that really I couldn't help, just based off of classes and things. And I feel like there should be some type of like tuition offset plan, or like something for students who have to stay longer and it's not on them. Because if I'm just not doing the work and I'm just failing, okay, okay. But, I do feel as though they need to do something for students who have to stay longer to just try to get on track again.
So what's your plan for when you graduate?
Then the dumbest thing. I want to go to grad school because overall I really do want to be a college professor. So grad school is kind of like where I see myself headed. But, if I do get into a situation, I feel like, oh, it's just too soon, or like I don't feel like, doing more money, I can wait. I don't want to be a college professor like in the next 10 years even. I want to be like seasoned, like, I've had some good jobs and I can actually like be hands-on and talk about things with my students.
So
And
what do
so
you want to teach?
I would love to be like a mass communications teacher. I went to a high school for mass communications. Well, we had a mass communications program, and that was like the best thing ever for me. My teacher, she was amazing. And it was just like all through that, I'm like, I want to do what she does. Like, I want to have this long lasting effect on somebody, because, like 5 years later. And yeah.
So I'm missing a step. You want to teach mass communication, right? So you need to be an expert in communications,
Yeah.
right? So you want to do you not want to work in communications before you like what do you want to work in?
Yeah, I do. Radio is something that, I love to do. So something in radio would be good, or even television production, or
Behind the
um,
scenes.
yeah, like anything in those fields are good. Content creation. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, in this age that we're in, everything is so like things are transitioning to independent.
Hmm.
You know, like with things like the versus going on, like you're no longer relying on TV to put your stuff out.
That's true.
Yeah. So would you are you more interested in having your own creations or managing?
I would love to have my own type of thing, but managing is definitely something I'm open to. I was just the other day talking to the guy who is the head of Fox Soul,
Hmm.
and it's been encouraging that streaming services are working, in a sense. Like, a lot of people don't even have cable anymore anyway. So streaming services, are more available. And, with Fox Soul, he's been able to do a lot of different things. So it just had me thinking, like, maybe that's something I would be interested in, having my own like streaming service or something with the message that I want to give to people, or something like that. But yeah, I wouldn't mind just, being in charge of some things, but having my own, that would definitely be really dope to me.
I think, for me, like when I was in college, I didn't realize, it took me a long time to realize how much power I have, like being in college. One of the reasons is like, even with just a cell phone, you
Mhm.
and 10 of your friends sitting in a dorm room, like you have 10 conversations, like you have 10 episodes of it. You'll probably never have such an easy opportunity to do something like that again.
Mhm. That is true. Yeah. And that's why I just feel as though, like, now, and what I can encourage everyone, especially in like the communications field, to do is to just work with what you are starting off with, whatever, and then go from there. I mean, it's so much you can do on your phone. They even have apps now to start your own radio show. Like, it's just so much out there that I feel like even like 5 years ago, really, it really wasn't there. It really wasn't thriving. But now you can, be your own person. You can be this content creator just off of Instagram, and everyone should realize that, in a sense, we're all content creators. We're all creatives, because we are keeping up with those social media pages. It's like a form of just branding yourself and creating who you are. So, just realize that you are already in the step of the direction to be this person. And that's what I just feel like people need to understand. Like, it's content creation, radio, television, they are all difficult things to do, definitely. But you can get them done, and you probably don't even realize that you're doing something right now to put you in the step of that direction. So,
So when I listen to your podcast, it sounds like you've had like a lot of dating stories.
yes.
So, and it's like I feel like, like when someone's talking to their diary, I kind of get that vibe.
Yes. Yes. It was just as of recently that I've been realizing, like, wow, when I do these podcasts, it's like I'm just, you know, venting, in a sense, like, to myself, So yeah, I've been enjoying that aspect of it, just kind of, spilling my tea. And I don't know, I enjoyed that. I feel like that takes a lot to do, like the first time that I ever just got on my podcast and start talking about me, I'm like, this is a lot. But what I also realized are those episodes that I'm being like, well, I feel like I'm always being myself, but that I'm really like telling my life. Those are the ones that are thriving. Those are the ones that are doing better. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, when you find something that works, you have to do it. But also, that's me. I love, if anything that I say can help you or make you feel like girl, I'm not alone, then that's what I want to do. So when I realized that that was possible, I was like, I want to keep doing this. I want to keep spilling my tea, telling people about my love life and stuff. So I don't know. It's been enjoyable.
Have you ever had like some of like the guys like listen to it and then like
Yes. Yeah, I had somebody before and they were like, "Were you talking about me?" And I was like, I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I would never name drop, and that's one thing I say. I would never name drop, but it just be like that. Sometimes you have to, let these things out, and also in the sense of them hearing it. Sometimes for them it is like, wow, I was this was really me. That's really my character, and it makes them think a little bit more.
right?
But yeah, that definitely has happened.
So are you comfortable with it? Like, do people on campus know like she's telling her business on her
Right. I,
podcast?
I
Like,
be wondering. I wonder, like, do any like I know my friends, they know. They're like, okay, girl, you was talking to, but I don't know if any other people, ever try to like, that know me, ever try to put it together like, oh, she's talking about him. Like I really wonder. I really
are
do.
you like promoting it? Like, here, come hear my life. Like, what? Or do you keep it low key?
Low key, but it's been so strange that so many people, like just random people on campus, sometimes do come up and like, oh girl, yes, I got to get into your podcast. Or people on campus, they support me that I never would think like, oh, you even thinking about listening to my podcast? So I'm low key with it, but I do try to be very social media driven. But just like on a regular, I don't know. I don't know.
At one point, I think you said something like, you've never had a real relationship.
Hmm.
Is that
Yeah, that's true.
so? What do you call those? I think you used the word situationships.
Yes, definitely situationships. It's crazy. I don't understand what it is with this generation of not really wanting to date.
Uh-huh.
That's different. And yeah, I don't know. It's just different to me. But those are definitely situationships. But in a sense, when you think about it, I think the term situationship works so much because it's like a relationship. Like you're doing a lot of things that people in relationships do, and then you have no title, nothing comes with that. It's just you just you just it's no perks in a sense. It's nothing, really going on. It's just, yeah, situationships for sure.
Now you're a senior. If you could go back to your
Hmm.
freshman year and like give yourself like dating advice,
Hmm.
you know, being through everything you've been through, situationships and all of these things, what would you say?
Ooh, I would tell myself, that you definitely have time, and don't take nothing from nobody. I feel like one thing with me, I will just take it from whatever, from whomever, and I will, not defend myself or not say anything sometimes. And that's what I would want my younger self to, just always be you. You can't stop being you, but also don't take anything from anybody. Like don't let anybody try to tell you who you are, or who you gonna be, or anything like that. Just be you and know who you are, and be more self-aware, because that plays a role in the dating world in a sense.
Now, when I went to college, a lot of people got on campus and like went wild. So, what would you say to someone who's going to college? Like tell them what they can, be prepared to see this, be prepared for these things.
There's going to be a lot of temptation out there in a lot of different ways, I'll say. There's going to be temptation from just in a sense of looking at the people around you, and they're like doing this and doing that and trying to be on this scene and that one, and that's not you. And then there's also going to be temptation. You're going to see some very, beautiful people, or they may look beautiful at the time. And you're going to maybe want to not be you, or do things that you usually wouldn't do. And just again, to just be yourself. You have to be yourself. You have to find some good supportive people, and you definitely just want to watch out for the clowns, because it's a lot of them out here. Just get in your bag, stay into your work, but also know that, you need to have your fun, you need to have a social life, but, just be well aware of everybody, really, everybody.
You mentioned Kevin Samuels also.
Yes.
What's your take on Kevin Samuels?
That man is crazy to me, but in a good, like in a good way. There are a lot of things that he says that I'm like, okay, you're doing too much. But then there's also these moments where he's right. He's right about a lot of things, but there's also reasoning behind them. And I think as women, we don't realize why we are the way we are sometimes. But he's gonna tell you, like, this is why, like, this is why. And sometimes you need to hear that. I mean, in a sense, I think women overall look at him sometimes as saying you need to lower your expectations or you need to think this way or that way. But it's just more so sometimes he's just being real. Like he's just honestly just being real that, you can't sometimes have this going on and that going on, but you're looking for somebody with, you know, and that make it like that literally makes sense. It literally makes sense if you think about it. It's a lot of things with him. It's like, okay, you're doing too much. But then later on you think about it and you're like, no, but he was right though.
He's a little rude for sure.
Yes, he's rude. His delivery is very whack.
But at the end of the day, I always say this, like, I think that's a part of it. Like, he's rude, then you laugh at it, and then he couples it with reality. And he's saying a lot of things that most people, when your girlfriend keeps dating the same kind of guy, you're thinking it, but you're too busy comforting her to give her the hard truth. So he
Right.
gives you the hard truth. He's a little rude, which is entertaining. He's well dressed, and he's also like, it's like a good package. I don't know. Every time I see him, or I used to watch, it would be like, wow,
For
most
real.
people aren't saying what he's saying.
Mhm. That's true. And I feel like we all need a Kevin Samuels in our life. Like we all do. We need somebody that's going to be blunt and honest with us. Even just on some regular things when he be telling the ladies like, why are you even coming up here with your bonnet on? Like we need those people because some stuff we do just not right in a sense of just regular things like that. But nobody says anything. Nobody's going to tell somebody that, like nobody.
Right.
So we need that. We need that.
Um, Now, as African Americans, well, first of all, let me ask you, how do you self-identify?
African American.
Yeah. So as African Americans, we've been through a lot of things, and even before I started this podcast, I there's so much trauma in the Black story,
Mhm.
and the more I meet people, the more I talk to people, it's like everybody has trauma,
Yeah.
and especially when it comes to like the family breaking up and those kinds of things,
Mhm.
right? What um, has trauma affected you, and how does that affect how you
Mhm.
like? Has trauma affected you, and how does that affect who you are right now?
Yeah, I feel like trauma has definitely affected me. A lot of things. It's like trauma. I feel like happens to a lot of people so young, and then when we get older, like I'll say like 18 and above, it just starts to hit us too. Again, why we act the way we act, or why do we think like this, or why do we act like that? And then when you sit back and think about it, you're like, I've been through all of these things, and it's things that like your family relationship or things like that that can go on to how you think of men or how you think of women and things like that. And I feel like that's been a thing for me, or just striving, because my parents' marriage wasn't successful to like, yes, I want to be, one day really be with someone and it's a successful relationship. You know what I'm saying? It's just all those different things. And it's different ways to go about that. Somebody in another perspective could be dwelling on their parents' marriage not working out and all these types of things, which I do sometimes as well. But it's just more so about working 10 times harder. They always say, like, oh, the single parent home, or, like just growing up in a single parent home, you're less likely to get married or to have a successful marriage yourself, which makes sense because you don't really know what to expect. You don't really know what you're looking for. And I feel like that's something with me sometimes. It's like I don't even know what I'm looking for. I'm just making up stuff in my mind about what I feel like a relationship should even be like sometimes. And I feel like that's a struggle. Like I don't have role model or a set model for, what relationships look like. So I feel like that's the trauma part for me.
How old were you when your parents separated?
I was pretty young. I was in middle school, so I wasn't that young. I was in middle school. So it was different because I wasn't so young, like, oh, I don't know what's going on. But I also wasn't old enough that I'm like, why y'all, you know what I'm saying? I was, you know, in that in between part of life, which also made it difficult because I feel like middle school is kind of that time that's a challenge. It's just a lot. You're going through a lot of things in general. So that just kind of added on to it. But, it was a lot because it was a time where I wasn't like dumb. I was very aware. And, I feel like sometimes when you're younger, it's like, which could be a better thing for me because I feel like younger people, their parents don't come back and talk about it. But when you're like aware and you really know what's going on, you can be like, well, I get it. You know what I'm saying? So I was just in a place where it's like, well, I get it. So,
So did you feel anything? Like what were you thinking? Were you blaming them? What like
mhm. I don't know. It's for a lot of that. My parents were never like very lovey dovey type of people. So it always seemed different just from what you see on TV and things like that. At the time, the only married people I really knew were like my grandparents. Like my aunts are not married. My uncle at the time was not married. And then of course he's older getting married. So it was just like no image of like, okay, well, this is what this should be. So it was just a lot. It was an emotional thing because I was just like, at the time before then I went to like a predominantly white school, so all of their parents were pretty much together. So it was just different. But I feel like at the time I was in middle school, I was like at a very very black middle school, so it was a lot more people who had similar stories or could really understand what I was going through. So I had a good support system, I feel, at the time. But it was a lot of emotions of just like, like, what's next? Like, how is this gonna work? It's just like, what? It just really hits you like, how is this, like, how is this gonna go? More so.
what did your father say to you? Do you remember him saying anything?
Not really. I really don't remember him saying much about it. My dad's is we're like the same, but we're different. He's quiet. He's like a quiet guy, but he's not quiet in a sense. Yeah, so he didn't really say much. My mom was like the talker. He was just like, well, we're moving, but you're gonna be with her, type of situation. So, and they did it in a very smooth way. Like they waited till we were supposed to move anyway and then did it. So it just was all in like a whole new setting. So that
Right.
was that was better.
Did that impact your relationship with your dad?
Yeah, I think it definitely did. Well, I feel like for a while we were close. And then he had my brother, which kind of put things on hold. Cause I'm like, Daddy, you too old to be out here having children. Didn't know you had no girlfriend. Like, what are you doing? My
You
parents are
were
older.
you were like a teen.
Yeah, I was like 16. So he was almost done. At that point, I was 16 when he had my brother.
Okay.
And so that just really impacted our relationship because me and my mom are really close. Like we talk about everything. That's us. Me and my dad. I grew up being way closer to my dad, but once he had my brother, it just was like, it's a boy. He did, I was the only child, so it was a different thing. And I just looked at him a little differently, I'd say.
So what kind of relationship or what's your relationship plan for yourself now?
I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, I'm a, I would assume you'd want to get married at some point.
Yeah, I do. Um, and my parents are another reason. Like, I don't know, like right now, like a lot of people are like, oh, they're getting married in the next, whatever before we're 30 or something. I just don't have that same outlook. Nevertheless, my parents' marriage was not like successful, but I do feel like they waited to a good time. I don't know. See, I don't know. I never thought about until I came to college. I never really thought about getting married younger. Like everybody wants to have kids before 30. My mom had me at like 34. Her mom had her at 41.
Okay.
So it's just like I just never really put like this age thing. I'm thinking, oh, like your 20s, So I don't know. I'm just going with the flow. I definitely do want to get married, and that's real. And I think I had a weird mindset of coming to college thinking I was going to find my husband, but that's way out of the picture. Um, but yeah, I want to get married and all that good stuff. But I don't have a time limit I'm putting on it. I don't think people should. I don't know.
I mean, so the reason why I went this way is because, you talk a lot about relationships.
Hmm.
So there's a part of you that I feel like wants that relationship.
Yes.
And then
It,
the other side was like, I want to wait another 10 years. So it's like you're putting yourself in this, like, what are you going to do in that in between time? Because you really want it now, but you're saying you don't.
yeah. It's like I really do. I just feel as though I just be like, I don't know, like it's not I don't know. I feel like for me it's weird. Never being in a relationship at this age, about to turn 23. Like this is a time where most people have at least had one boyfriend. Even if it was like in high school, I mean they at least had one. So I feel like that's a struggle for me because like somebody wanting to take me on a date, it just sounds so foreign to me. Like my whole aura changes. I'd be like, no, like what? Like, why would you like it just I don't know. It's so strange, but it's so foreign to me. It just makes my body tense up. Like, no. So I don't know. In that in between time, I definitely want to date. I don't really feel like I want to wait 10 years, but or however long, but I don't know. I'm ready for it whenever it's ready for me, in a sense.
So someone said they wanted to take you on a date. How did that go?
It was just it was funny. It was funny to me because it's so foreign. But this person, I'll say he really does genuinely like me, cares for me as a person, but it's just so foreign. I just can't. But I will say, yeah, somebody really does like me. I feel like it's very genuine. It's not, you know, too much. I don't know.
I mean, it sounds like a good guy,
Yes, definitely.
and you're kind of not taking it seriously.
That's the bad part. I feel like as women, we never want what's good for us. We always want, what's because he's a good guy. He's very, as I said, he's very regular. It doesn't come with a lot. He's very self-aware. He's regular, which is great. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't
So
know.
I just turned 40 this year,
No
and
way. It's
huh?
no way. It's no
Yeah,
way.
thank you. And like, I'm not an expert or anything, but I've always been like very self-aware and in tune with what's going on with people, right? And you know, relationships are important because they give like emotional support,
Mhm.
and you, for some reason, I still have a question about this. Like, you can have 100 friends who are super close to you, but there's something about the intimacy of having that with someone you're sexually attracted to,
Mhm.
like that a girlfriend just can't fill. Even if you're roommates, you share the same bed, and you're just friends, it won't. You want someone who you can like snuggle
Mhm.
and be a more vulnerable version of yourself with.
Yeah.
And I think that, us being African American and not having these strong images of family and these kinds of things lead us to do like more promiscuous stuff.
Mhm.
And I think with the impact of the music and just the general Black culture in general, it's like, oh yeah, I fucked him, who cares? And we just kind of, and these kinds of things affect the family, right? That's what we're talking about. So, you know 23 is a perfect time to like settle down and get serious with somebody, and it's not that hard, but you have to do the self work to think
Yes.
you're of value. You deserve that, you know. And that's the important thing. It's like we know exactly what the perfect image is, that we all want the perfect image, but to get from where we are to that place, you know, there's a lot of work for everyone.
It is.
And to think that you actually deserve that, that $50,000 wedding and the white dress, and he bought me a house, and now we're going to grad school together, and that conventional thing, Black people want that just like everyone else.
Mhm.
But if you're, not used to that, never seen that, and everyone has relationships that's breaking up and sleeping here, doing here, then it's like it seems far-fetched and not for you.
Right.
And the more distracted we are, it's hard. It takes a lot of focus to create that special thing that we want, whether it's a career or relationships or the physical body. Like, you really have to focus and
Yes.
to turn off all of the distractions, the friends, the I have to keep up my status,
Mhm.
all of the things that we worry about. You have to turn all of that off and get to like meditate. You have to walk around in a meditative state for like consistently to kind of build yourself from the inside out.
Mhm.
And most of us are not ready to do that work, right?
That's true.
And the people who surround us, they don't support us because they're avoiding the work too. So they're like, come on, girl, you ain't gonna do all that.
Mhm.
And we kind of get comfortable in this kind of broken place.
Yeah. I definitely agree. I feel like when you're trying to lock in or really be with somebody, you have to lock in. And take the time to get to know them and, allow yourself to be vulnerable. And I think that that's a main key. We are so not into being vulnerable and just letting ourselves just be. And I feel like that's the point where you can really say, yes, this is somebody I really want to be with, because you're able to just be yourself. They feel like your safe place. And sometimes your friends cannot, well, not sometimes, but most of the time, your friends cannot be that and do that for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just not possible. And it's weird that sometimes you may feel comfortable talking to, your significant other or whoever you're trying to get to know or whatever, then sometimes your friends, because sometimes with this person that, you want to be with or you are with or whatever, you're just able to be more vulnerable. And not saying you're not yourself with your friends, but it's a different type of vibe. It's a different, as you said, like it's a different form of intimacy. And, I feel like it's nothing wrong with that, but we do need to all get ourselves together and realize that we do need to start being more vulnerable and we need to stop dwelling on all of this stuff is going on and just go with the flow. Go with the flow.
What do you think about celibacy and marriage?
I don't know. I It's nothing wrong with that. I don't feel like it's anything wrong with that. And I do feel like, taking the time, is between the time you got engaged into your wedding date, maybe to take some time then not to get intimate in those ways. Because to me, I feel like that'll really be like, do I really like this man or what? You
But I
know,
mean, like, being single and waiting till marriage. What do you
yeah.
think about that?
I think that's good. I mean, I think that's good. It's not different, but it comes with different layers to it. You know what I mean? Like, sex is important, and you don't also want to be with somebody that you don't enjoy that form of intimacy with them. I feel like that's scary, but I feel like it's also something that you can fix. It's something you can work on, something you can change. But I feel like, sometimes when you get about to be married, you just want it to all be right. But I definitely agree with those women and, or men who want to choose to do that. I mean, that's amazing. If you can go that, not that long, but really if you can, it's more so if you can find different, for women, if you can find different men to date and you're trying to be celibate and wait till marriage, you're a real one. Because it's just on the day-to-day basis, it's just not a lot of men who are okay with that. Like, we about to date and what's not about to happen. So it's like, I feel like that that is a sport. That is an extreme sport, finding somebody who doesn't, want to do that. So I love it.
I mean, so you think that being celibate and dating makes it harder?
Yes, definitely. I definitely do. I feel like it makes it harder, especially at this age of mine, because everybody's trying to have sex. Like, everybody wants to have sex. So if you're not, I feel like it does put you at a place that you're like, it's hard. You don't know what's real. You don't know what's not. But that's like with everybody though. But yeah.
So it's my son's 16, right?
Oh,
I
wow.
Yeah, I had kids young. So
Okay.
I tell him that, sex is a major distraction.
Mhm.
When you're trying to do anything in life, it's a major distraction, and it's so powerful and addictive that even if you never get hurt, it's like you're taking. You okay?
Oh yes, you're fine.
I lost your video.
Oh yes, it's coming. I'm sorry.
Take your time. So it's like you it's a big addiction, so it's distracting. If you're doing schoolwork, you have a project, you're at work, you have friend, and then it's emotionally heavy and these kinds of things. And not to mention when you're young and you just like having sex and you're like X, Y, and Z, then you're
Mhm.
not really dating seriously or dating with a purpose. So you
Right.
end up kind of like just going down these random streets and doing random stuff, and it's not really what you want.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're celibate, you can kind of like weed out the people who really like like just like it doesn't have to be some sex in 2 weeks or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to hang out with this person. Like we've been together for 3 months, 6 months, and we just have a good connection. It's not about anything else. With that said, I wasn't celibate, like, and I went through all of these things. So I fully understand.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but hindsight is 2020, as they say.
Right. That's true. That's true. I mean, it is good. I feel like to be that way because as you're saying, like you definitely can kind of, really get to have these other moments with a person. I feel like, just when you're free and willing to have sex, it kind of jades your vision a little bit. It's like you don't know who's really for you, who's really not, what their intentions are, so there is a downside to just kind of doing that. And then I also feel as though, I don't know, just women, you can't just be so quick and fast to give it up to somebody. You need to kind of get to know them, because sometimes even as women we just be ready, and then you just, ooh, and then it doesn't stop. It's not like it happens and then, okay, we just not going to do this for a long time. I mean, most of the time, if you're going to sleep with a man quick, he's going to keep sleeping with you. And then once you've given him that, I mean, he has nothing like, what else? What else can you give him that's of
That
great
becomes
value to
the,
him
that
besides?
becomes the depth of the relationship, and it hinders the growth.
Right.
And if
Definitely.
you are celibate and you're dating a guy, and then he jumps to another girl who's giving it up, then it just shows you where his mind was at.
Exactly. And I
What
feel like that's a challenge and a struggle. I don't know why some women don't see it that way, but yeah.
what was your relationship with the church?
Hmm. Um, I'm sorry. Um, it, mm, I'm a spiritual person. Growing up, more so because my grandparents were very sick, I didn't have the opportunity to go to church on Sundays a lot. But I love church. I'm a crier at church. I'm one of those people. I always feel like the message is coming to me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, my grandfather actually that passed a couple years ago, he was like heavy into the church. But we did that at home through music a lot. So music,
Mm.
music really played an impact on just, my spiritual and religious beliefs and things like that. It's definitely, I say, has been the music. Like my grandfather, he loves gospel. I listen to very, very, very old gospel music, and that does it for me, in a sense. But I feel like going to church and being involved in church is a big thing. I just feel as though I need to find my own church home that's for me. Definitely some places for me, because I feel like it changes. Like you go to this church, you hear a lot of people go to this church growing up and they're just there and they're there and they're there. But, I feel like as you evolve and you get older, you need to, in a sense, branch out and find another church for you. So I feel like that's my next steps after college, is just to go find a church that's for Courtney, because sometimes I just feel like no. But yeah, yeah.
Is there a Christian presence on campus?
Yes. I feel like that's one thing I love about the HBCU experience in general. It's heavy on religion, it's heavy on, like we're not praying everywhere, but it's a it's a vibe. It's a thing, that we don't have to be afraid to talk about, or different things like that. And also I love that they bring different other religions kind of into the picture, and it's a little something for everybody. There's like a group of white guys now to do a Bible study, then there's like a group of black people that do Bible study. They have like things about like Islamic things, and like it's different, and I love that is people think of an HBCU as it's just all black people, but there are so many different religions within the black community, so many different beliefs, and I love to see that, truly.
So overall, how has this HBCU experience been for you?
It's had its ups and downs. I feel like going to this small institution, um, it's messy, but it's overall been good. I feel like a lot of opportunities I've been able to have here, just at the radio station, doing things for TV, I wouldn't have been able to do at a larger campus. But the experience overall, it's been different. This is like a homeschool for a lot of people. Like, they grew up here, they love the culture, and so the moment that you say something isn't right, it's like you are telling them like the world is about to end. And that's annoying, because I feel like out of state students also aren't taken into account a lot here. If you're not Greek, if you are not popular, if you're not a cheerleader, if you are not in something, then they don't see you sometimes. Yeah, they don't see you. So that's a
So what does that mean? They don't see you.
like it's like they don't really care about you. Like if you're not like very popular. Like I feel as though like a lot of people know me, but that's because of like the things I do on campus. But I'm also not as popular. Like I'm not Greek or like a cheerleader
Have
or
you
something
thought
like
about pledging?
that. Sometimes,
What,
but I
what
feel like
turns
a
you
lot
off?
of people.
What turns you off?
I don't know. I feel like, well, what I will say about Greek life, and that's something that I've seen and that I love, is that they are very much close. I feel like it does grant you different opportunities to travel and to go be with different people. People see their soror and they're like, oh, yes, like it puts you on to a lot of different situations and a lot of things. And that's something that, I would love to get out of that experience. But there also, are people, who do it for the wrong reasons. And I feel like that's really dumb. Like you want to take this moment and savor it, and things like that. So I don't know, but I would, I think the networking part of it is the part that I'm like, yes, like this is something that would be cool.
I mean, so I went to a small school and it was very small, and the little bit of Greek life that they had just was tiny, right? So if
Hmm.
you go to a school that has a normal Greek life culture and you can pledge something like, you do your, I would have liked to do my research, pick the organization that is most
Hmm.
prestigious, has the biggest connections. You pledge that, and not only do you get a community for life with those people, but you have a larger community. And these
Right.
people are 40, 50, 60 years old and they're still hanging out.
Hmm.
And I think as people of color, we need those kinds of circles.
Yes. I feel like we do. We need those types of circles with people who, at some point, we saw something that was similar. We had some type of like mind. And that's, I think, the overall picture that we miss a lot, especially sometimes when we're having conversations about Greeks and Greek life, is that we miss the true meaning of just, having these people that you can lean on, or having these people that, you know, just mean something to you outside of your friends. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is amazing to me. Like people have their friends and then they have, everybody in their sorority or their fraternity. And that's like the overall beauty and the painted picture for me, is that, this sense of community and fellowship and all of that. So, yeah.
Yeah, you said community, and I'm very big on community. And I I think we need more of it, right? I think the world in general needs more of it, and African Americans specifically, coming from this lineage of so much trauma, we need more circles to kind of help us weave us in and keep us tight. And that's going to make a big difference long run, when you're having like, I know at this point you're almost done with school, so you pretty much don't have time to pledge, even if you wanted to.
Mhm.
But you can also pledge in grad school, which is your plan,
Right.
you know.
Mhm.
Well, so I would say think about it. If that's one more thing I probably could have done over, I would have went out of my way, even if it was to a different campus to pledge.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, I feel like that's big. That's
yeah.
big.
Courtney, thank you so much for taking your time today. I love everything that you brought, your energy and the
Thank you.
honesty. I look forward to connecting with you again and hearing more about your journey and seeing you graduate and hearing more on your podcast episodes,
Mhm.
and keep up that authenticity, and just growing, being vulnerable. That's one of the things that I think we need more of is self-awareness. A lot
Mhm.
of people won't even admit those things to themselves privately, much less to share them publicly. That's a big tool that you
Mhm.
can use.
Yes, yes, that is true. And I thank you so much. I just enjoyed this having this conversation. I feel like conversations like this, need to be had more. So yes, I thank you for the opportunity.
I'm all about healing and growing and
Mhm.
creating space for those kinds of conversations because, like you said, we're not having enough. Do you want to leave us with a thought?
Yes. To any Black woman, I'd say that's listening out there, um, just continue to do you, continue to grow, continue to, have those goals, continue to glow. And, always stay true to who you are, no matter what, create your own image of yourself. And when you walk into a room, please, please, please do own it.
And tell us where we can find your podcast one more time.
Yes, my podcast is available everywhere you get your podcasts, SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. It's there for you.
All right. And that's Everyday, Young Everyday Black Woman.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Courtney. I really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.